Yo, 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 what is going on? IK Familia, it is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back again, going to be giving you some awesome goodies today. Going to be diving into how you can make kingdoms sustainable, and I'm going to give you an example, a couple examples actually from my 3 projects, and I'm going to show you throughout this process, I think we're about a week and a half in. I'll show you something around 3 months, a little more than that. And then I'll kind of show you what happens and some of the pros and cons of when you limit the amount of active player activity and retention that you can allow your kingdom to get to, right, through certain decisions that are made. As always, before we get started, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit the Discord up. You can find a link to that in the description, and I feel like I might have just said that. Okay, without further ado, let's go. So, first and foremost, right, I want to briefly talk about some of the important bits, right? So my account is still in 79, as you guys know. I'm not a part of management, leadership. I don't do anything in the kingdom anymore. Though, what I do like to pay attention to, as I do with other kingdoms as well, is kind of how they're developing, right? How are they going, right, for the ones I have on my radar. And in particular, with 79, as some of you may know, right, once upon a time, there was 8 active alliances in the kingdom. And now, when we look at the leaderboards, you can see here that there's 2. Now, yeah, there is somewhat of a decent activity showing still from Fate, but for all intensive purposes, there's really 2 active alliances. So you've gone from 8 to 2, in the matter of, it was about 150 days, and let me see how old the kingdom is now. They're at 271 days, right? So almost 4 months after after me not being a part of the management team anymore, right, it went from 8 to 2 active alliances. Now, of course, while I was there, right, it took us almost a few months just to build up and get to that point where we could have 8 active alliances that were close in power to each other. And I'm going to give you a couple examples here before I kind of show and explain a little bit of how the process went, along with why I think it's so important that kingdoms really aim for this level of stability, because it's going to help you out so much longer down the road. So let's show off now some interesting tidbits here, or tidbits, I guess I should say. So I'm going to switch my screen up, and I'm going to show you one example here, which is Kingdom 36, right? So this is my second project that we ran. And you can see here, right, we're 7 days in. This is from a previous video. So you can see here 7 days in, I'm showing you the date, and then we end up, I have to scroll back now, right? Then we end up getting here, where I'm showing you, and I'm going to pause it for a moment, on how a kingdom can so effortlessly look a week in. These numbers, when you look at this, right, this is with our syndicate family, right? Look at this. Between 1 and 5, you had almost pretty much about a 300K power difference. Phenomenal. Not hard to do. But what is hard to do is organizing, structuring it, like to accomplish something like this 7 days in any kingdom builder, right? You have to be on the same page. You have to know that the people that are joining, that are being a part of the journey, whether it's the kingdom or you came in with a project before, that they are really buying in to what the plan is, right? To what the environment is. And I'm not sure if we show a little bit more. Let me see here. Oh, man. Oh, I got 8.5 hours of sleep too, right? Intense stuff. Let me see if I scroll. Okay, yeah. So here's where it looks like I start to do a little scrolling. So I'm going to fast forward here. And you can see, right, 9.9. We'll pause again. And then you see that was our 5 alliances. But then you still see, right, 9.6, 9.1, right? It's still close, even though these ones aren't really related to us, right? Forsaken Syndicate was the next one for our 6th alliance. And again, right, still 8.8. That's not that far off from the remaining. So again, you can see here that it's not bad, right? We still have one syndicate. We got Orion at 8 mil. So again, the numbers are not bad when you're looking at the amount of alliances that we had coming in. So it looks good. Now, let's fast forward and let's take a look at S79, right? This is almost 100 days in, 8 days after migration had occurred. And this is where you can see, and then I'm going to show off the leaderboards here in a moment. Let me just fast forward here. Okay, so now we'll full screen, and here is where you can see how it looks going in for just the top 5, right? We'll show off a little bit more here in a moment, but you can see these, right? 51, 4.9, it's a 1.5 mil difference, 2 to 3, 1 mil difference, 3 to 4, 3.5 mil difference, 4 to 5, 2 mil difference, right? From 1 to 5, it's about, what is that, 8.1, 8.2. So again, not that wide compared to others, right? Depending on the kingdom you're in, right? If you ended up noticing that it might be going a little bit lower. And then you'll see here, right, where we have 6, which is Fastir Fallen, right, at 41. So again, the numbers are not bad. Even if you look at KGBF at 7, right? If you look at 1 through 7, the numbers are still close, right? Within about 10, 11 mil. So it's good when you're looking at the gap that late already at, nearing 100 days. And then you see the drop off there basically at 8. But you're still looking at 7 active alliances, 8 still active, but 7 more active than the others. And then, looking at your kind of top 3, top 4, right, closer in power. However, you still have a very low range based on how strong the alliances were at that time. So again, these are really important things that we really were looking to build. And I want to see if I'm able to find you a example here, because this would be something that I would love to. I think I have a screenshot before we end up going back. So let's see here, because I know there was something. I'm forgetting the keyword that was used. 29. There we go. Let's type in alliance balance. Yeah. I'm probably not going to find it. I really wanted to show you guys a screenshot. I'm just thinking of it now. I didn't actually think to try and find this before, but in short, what it was is it was a screenshot that was taken on the IK Discord, and I remember that some people were talking about like power. I think it was like power balance, or it was something like let me see, BN Alliance power. To see, I can't find it. I know it was in one of the channels, and I remember at the time it was going off of it was essentially some players that were on the IK Discord, and they posted something around the time of the second video I just showed, where it was a couple players interacting in a discussion about managing power, about trying to have alliance power be close to each other. And there was a few screenshots that were shared by some players in a discussion that happened on one of the channels on the IK Discord, because some people were saying that, it's very difficult, it's really hard to do, you shouldn't really even try to do it. And then here you come with a couple replies from people that were familiar with S79 and what I was doing there along with the group, where we were able to achieve that, and they showed screenshots basically proving it. And again, even though it is very hard to do, right? Again, it is hard and difficult to do when you're thinking about all the pieces that are involved in trying to get there. But once you have those pieces, right, or if you know exactly how to do it, it can be easy in those regards. A lot of really what it comes down to is just the manual labor work of going out there and doing a lot of the recruiting to try and bring people in, at least on that front, right? Because there is a couple phases that you go into when you're working on power balancing. But then you look now, right, at where 79 is, where it was at 100 days, right, now being 200 plus, and you see it's just 2 active alliances, right? So you basically went from 8 active alliances, and again, this is from where I was at day 150, to where now the kingdom is. And some of the challenges, and I'm going to point this out because this is something that quite a few kingdoms will face, is that when the challenge here is really so much bigger than just consolidating. It's so easy to consolidate. That's the thing that most players and most people in management do not recognize, is that your first go-to thought is that we need to consolidate. We need to merge, right? We don't have a lot of activity in our alliance, so let's try and figure out a solution. And so the first thought typically is to go internally within your kingdom. It's okay, cool, let's go look for some alliances that we can do a merge with. Let's see if we can grab some players here. When really, the most important thing you should be doing is recruiting externally, outside of your kingdom. Why? Because when you do merges, all you're doing is recycling the finite resources that you already have. Meaning that you're not gaining more activity. It's an illusion, right? You are selling people an illusion of that, oh, well, now all of a sudden we have a bunch of activity. Okay, but what did you lose? You lost alliances. You lost activity, spread activity, in order to have a larger amount of players by utilizing additional alliance shells. And anytime you do a merge, just to name a few of the big points here, you are typically, unless you are literally messaging and making sure every single individual player is accounted for, 99% of the time you are going to lose some players from drop-off because you're doing a merge, and usually you're trying to take the strongest players from each alliance and merge them into, or you're trying to take the strongest players from one alliance and merge them into the available spots that another alliance has. And if you're not taking care of the remaining players, you're losing that activity for your kingdom. That is why mergers are really have to be handled with the most amount of TLC if you want to get the most out of it. Because if you don't, this is kind of what can happen, right? Where you go from having, like I said, 8 active alliances to pretty much 2 now. And again, I can use 79 as an example because I know a lot of the intricacies that went in here. But a very similar, so this does apply to many other kingdoms as well, that view how you do activity consolidation internally within your kingdom, and you go immediately to, let's just do a merge, right, when you're already that far along. Now, yeah, doing merges early on, maybe through the midway point, you may need to do those things. However, you have to understand, once your kingdom opens for migration at day 90, that's when you have to start really thinking about prepping earlier so you can try and do recruiting to bring people in. But there's a lot of factors that go into just what would make your kingdom appealing to others that would actually get them in, right? I'm just mainly talking here about the importance of recruiting externally versus internally, and the causes that can happen when, in my opinion, just people that don't know enough about how you can keep a kingdom activity healthy, morally active, and socially engaged, right, on a few of those levels. And that's the challenge, is that oftentimes that's what I usually hear from a lot of kingdoms, is that, or for the ones I speak to, is that they'll say, well, hey, what do I do? I'm thinking about merging, or, boss, what's your advice? We've already merged to alliances, but now we're noticing activity problems again. And these are things that happen. This is why when all you're doing is shuffling a finite amount of resources, right? It's almost like saying that you have a box of toys, and over a period of time through wear and tear, your box of toys is going to be less and less and less. Well, if you, or better yet, like let's say you have a box of toys and they're separated, they're divided, right? And over that period of time from wear and tear, you're going to lose some. Okay, well, maybe you want to consolidate your box of toys, so you pull out some of the dividers, right? And now you're making it seem like you have a lot more toys in the space that's available to you. But in reality, you don't, because you're not buying any new toys, right? You're not going out and finding other toys that you can add to your collection. And it's the same way. All you're doing is shuffling around, you have a capacity of 300, right, with your 2 alliances. And if you lose that activity, if you start losing more players, you may need to consolidate again. And then you'll go from 8. I mean, you've already gone from 8, like in this example, they've gone from 8 to 2. Who's to say they won't eventually go from 8 to 1? And that's kind of what you look at in an example like Server 1, right? Or other servers that just have one main alliance. They had a lot of activity when it started out, but but they just weren't able to sustain that activity and nurture that activity to where it could stay for a long period of time. And so anyways, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. I don't know if I really would call this a masterclass, so to speak, but I hope you enjoyed me sharing my thoughts with you, giving you some examples on how you can balance out your alliances in your kingdom and why it is so important to do that. Because when you have great activity, when alliances are close in power, players feel more engaged. The number one reason is because they feel as though any player and any alliance can equally contribute more than what they would do on a bare minimum for an event, and any alliance could win. That's that type of friendly competition environment you want to try and meet, because that will carry over to what? Your KVKs. All right, that is it for me. I would love to know your thoughts on what I showed off. Please leave me a comment, feedback, what your thought is, right? If you were in a similar situation, are you in a kingdom now where you've experienced this? I really want to hear your story. Let me know if what I said is relatable, if maybe your situation played out differently, but it is close, or maybe you just had something totally off base and just another way to approach. I would love to hear in those comments down below. That is it for me. Until next time, I'll catch you later.